Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. Now, first off, I want to apologize because this episode, let's see, Wednesday's episode happened on Thursday, and this was supposed to be Thursday's episode, but I didn't have time, so now Thursday and Friday's episodes are intended to both be happening today. When I said that yesterday, I was not able to do that, because time. But today, I've got plenty of time, so we're going to start this episode with the living thoracic system, go through Erashrug, or however you say that, followed by noise, the new voice, and liquid life / Totenkinder. So, let's check out that living thoracic system, shall we? Also, I've got my fan on right now because apparently there's a heat advisory where I live, and I don't want to just heat stroke while trying to record this, so sorry about the ambient background noise. Oh, well, apparently the living thoracic system is no longer living, nor a thoracic system, because it went from Euclid to safe to neutralized. So, SCP-541 was kept in a plain pine wood coffin. If that's what it was kept in, and now it's neutralized, then it just leave it in there. Some 1.98 meters, 6.5 feet in length, and with a stereotypical hexagonal construction. The lid to this coffin was kept affixed by means of 4 padlocks for relatively easy access to its contents. Keys were in the possession of the on-site level 3 technician heading research on 541. It could be removed from its coffin with care. The coffin could be moved with minimal limitations and security measures and proved, by and large, suitable for continued containment / storage of 541. Description: it was discovered in Blank, Peru in 1988 in the crypt of a local Catholic mission. The mission had been repurposed for several decades and at the time of 541's discovery was being converted into a youth hostel. I thought I was about to say hospital, but it says hostel. And when I see hostel, I think of that movie Hostel, where bad things were happening to people, and I realize that's probably not what hostel means. I hope that's not what hostel means. The crypt beneath was being cleared for storage, with the corpses within being reburied locally. 541 was discovered when the workers moving the coffin containing it noticed wet noises coming from within. Investigation revealed 541 led to local hysteria that a brief fanatical following of 541 believing it to be supernatural or possibly saintly, akin to incorruptibility. The resultant attention led to a cursory investigation by our agents, followed by a total media blackout, confiscation of 541, and extermination of those close to the object. SCP-541 is an intact set of human thoracic organs, including the lungs, heart, digestive system, etc. Notably, the organs operate in a grotesque but accurate imitation of an ordinary human body. Blood pumped, the esophagus performed peristalsis, and it appeared that the organism as a whole did not decay like normal organs did. What happened to 541's original owner, if there was one, is unknown. The digestive system did operate normally, though there was apparently no need for food. 541 had been sealed for at least several decades before its discovery. Also notable is that the entire system was closed. That is, there was no evidence of blood vessels ever pumping to extremities outside of a general abdominal area, and no indications of body structures, e.g. ligaments, nerves, and membranes, indicating that a more complete organism was ever intact. Various experiments were performed on it to determine more about it, and to try and assess any use or adaptation for its unique structure. No container beyond the original pine box was deemed necessary. Document 1. Blood was drawn from the system in small quantities to reflect the amount of blood estimated to be present in the system. The sterile needle wound healed itself through an apparently normal white blood cell platelet mechanism, and after several repeated intermittent blood drawings, researchers approximated that the blood replaced itself, again akin to a normal human body. Document 2. Application of basic, easily digestible, and nourishing food products to the open esophagus of 541 proved the digestive system works normally, including excretion, whatever. Poop. Document 3. Introduction of various stimulants, including caffeine, into 541 system showed that the subject responds predictably for its weight and condition. Document 4 through 13. Assorted tests to determine more about nervous communication among the components of parts of 541, various scans of the subject to try and learn more about its composition, and a brief battery of measurements to try and compare 541 to the profiles of average complete humans in an attempt to learn more about or approximate its age, height, weight, health. For details on these reports, please contact Dr. Somebody. Document 14. Director Blank approves attempts to grow 541, including hormone and steroid introductions, as well as attempts to culture the cells. Results prove inconclusive on all tests, and testing continues. 15 through 18. Further testing on 541 concurrent to orders outlaid in Document 14. Results continue to be inconclusive. Some cultures prove promising enough to continue research in the present direction. Test 19. During continued growth testing, 541 goes into a rest and cannot be revived. Following its death, the remains dissolve into a fine powder within minutes. Culture stagnated, no clones of 541 are produced. Addendum. Lab technician blank blank administered a drug dose appropriate for a normal human being of the age, height, weight, and fitness of 541, as determined by tests recounted in document 12 and 13. This proved fatal to 541 as the subject was not a complete organism and the dosage should have been adjusted accordingly. Technician was reprimanded and moved to bottom-level duties with restricted opportunities for advancement and promotion. Okay, so it looks like that person is the reason it died. Addendum. Fine powder that remains of 541 and coffin are contained at storage site blank. There has been discussion of attempting to reassemble 541 by the use of 914, but some concerns have been expressed about whether or not the powder remains of 541 represent the entirety of the subject, and whether or not it will be able to survive the shock of reanimation. So, lab technician accidentally killed the SCP, they were reprimanded and demoted with no ability to be promoted. Next up is the Air Chirurg, which is Euclid. SCP-4... Why do I keep saying 4? We're in the 500s, we've been there for some time now. SCP-542 is to be kept in an 8x8 meter room with a small adjoining bathroom and may submit requests for furnishings barring anything that could be modified into surgical tools. Notable requests by 542 include a queen-size bed, no blankets or sheets, spare mattress, approved. 2 large work desks, approved. 1 large wardrobe, approved. A selection of heavy coats, lab jackets, and pants, approved. Several full-length mirrors, denied. A selection of sewing supplies along with bolts of cloth. Approved initially, revoked after Incident 542-B3. I wonder if that's in here. Several large bookcases filled with anatomy and medical textbooks, both old and new. Approved. A chess set. Approved. Blank page notebook and various writing utensils. Approved. Regular supplies with German language crossword puzzles. Approved. Industrial grade deep sinks. Denied. Steel nail file. Denied. Given wooden sandpaper emery board in replacement. Nail clippers. Denied. Access to his personal surgery kit. Denied except in cases of testing. See addendum. The room is to remain locked, deadbolted, and barred with at least 2 Class D guards on duty at any time. 542 is to be fed 2 meals per day, delivered by disposable dudes, and as per request will be given a transfusion of fresh blood, 1 pint any time per week. When 542 begins to suffer from organ failure, he may request a fresh organ to be supplied, and Foundation medical personnel will sedate him and perform the surgery. Despite constant requests, 542 may not be allowed to perform invasive surgery upon himself except during observed testing. Old and discarded organs or tissue are to be collected for testing. In the event that 542 should escape confinement, it may be subdued by high doses of tranquilizers or disabled by a net. Should he come in possession of any knives... Okay, so they were calling him he. Right. So he may be subdued. Should he come into possession of any knives or shards of glass / mirror that could be used to cut, non-lethal fire is permitted. SCP-542 claims that it has been at one time a typical human of Caucasian descent, identifying as German in nationality. This story is supported by the fact that German appears to be his first language, speaking all other languages with a German accent. 542 requests to be called Air Chirurg, or surgeon, by staff, and is fluent in German, English, and French, and can speak a small bit of Polish and Italian. Standard IQ tests have revealed his IQ to be around the range of 150, placing him as high intelligence. It is unknown how old 542 is. Testing of various tissue samples has revealed nothing. He claims to have been dreadfully normal before World War I started and claims to have worked for the Nazi Party even if he found their goals boringly simple. He has been described as a Frankenstein's monster in appearance. 542 may hide his odd features under heavy clothing but prefers to wear only a nice pair of slacks revealing his hunched form, distended gut, warped rib cage, and bizarre arm structure. His skin is made from patches of various hues and shades, some of these heal together with scars while others are still stitched together. Non-symmetrical bone and muscle structure reveal that he has replaced a majority of his body over time, and admits to having worked with helpers before to replace such things as portion of his own spinal cord. Although his appearance can change with surgery, his arms are always too long for his body, and his hands have been modified greatly to have additional joints in the fingers. Ew. The skin is pulled rather tightly over his face, giving him a somewhat skeletal appearance along with the tendency for his bones to bulge through his skin. His teeth, it should be noted, are collected from different individuals. Some of them are not even human by all appearances. It is not uncommon for him to cough or to vomit blood, and as such it requires infusions of fresh blood approximately once per week. He currently boasts 2 hearts and multiples of several other organs and organ systems. How 542 keeps track of his own structure while performing surgery is unknown, but he likens it to having a very good memory. DNA testing on all tissues is inconclusive and reveals fragmented DNA. It is unknown how he is able to accept different blood types and multiple organs without suffering from organ rejection or allergic reactions, nor how he is able to function while performing invasive surgery on himself, even while inserting extra brain matter into his skull. 542 is to be kept alive for observation and testing on the process that keeps him alive. He behaves in a surprisingly pleasant manner most of the time, enjoying lengthy conversations about science and biology, politics, and long games of chess. However, when an organ begins to fail or a part of his body becomes necrotic, he undergoes a drastic personality change, stalking and observing people from a distance. Additional information on his habits and attacks may be found in the addendum. He appears to have a previously unknown ability to be completely aware of his body's functions and workings constantly, even able to identify points of rotting or decay he should not be able to sense by any known means. This ability, however, has been shown to extend beyond his own body. He can passively sense the health and medical status of other humans within several meters of him, the range extending to approximately 5 meters when he focuses. He admits that he uses this process, which he doesn't understand himself, to pick his next victims. Addendum. SCP-542 has been proven to be the assailant in a string of 45 murders over the course of 3 years that occurred across Germany, England, and America, and is suspected of an additional unconfirmed 15 murders in that time span. He was first observed 4 years ago by Agent Blank in Blank, Germany, after 4 people had been attacked and had muscle, sinew, and bones removed from their limbs. 3 of the victims died from blood loss and shock. The fourth Blank Blank happened to be staying in the hotel room next to the agent who intervened. This account may be found in Incident Report 542A6, which doesn't sound like it's in here. 542 has a strong connection to a collection of scalpels, blades, syringes, and various other surgical equipment from time periods ranging from modern day to archaic, if very well kept, relics from years as early as the 1910s. He carries these in a velvet-lined black leather suitcase and modifies many of his jackets to have holders to hide and carry this equipment in. He does not allow access to this collection except during testing and observation of self-surgery. He has also caused several deaths of disposable dudes even when not in testing due to negligence or assumption that certain items may be safe when used by him. Personnel are reminded that even if his personality is pleasant the majority of the time, he will still dissect personnel for amusement and curiosity's sake if given the chance. These incidents may be interviewed in Incident Reports B1 through B11. I'm feeling more and more like most of those aren't going to be in here. Seemingly safe items such as sewing supplies have led to him making more than a rather well-tailored jacket for himself, but also resulted in restraining a disposable dude by sewing him to the mattress of the bed before removing his kidneys and a portion of the liver. He has been shown to be very willing to comply with certain experiments and appears to enjoy performing self-surgery with someone observing, explaining what he is doing and displaying his knowledge of the workings of the body as if he were a teacher describing a surgical textbook. Unfortunately, this usually requires being at a risk of attack from him. It has been requested that 542 be kept alive, so the process that allows for him to recover from intense surgery without organ rejection be studied and potentially copied for medical use. 542 may also show potential for being used to assist in surgical and studying endeavors due to his increased intelligence and compulsion for dissection. Any books and notes written by him may be accessed and studied by those with Class 2 security clearance or higher. Update: as of blank 2000-something, 542 has somehow acquired knowledge of both SCP-291 and 1025, and appears to be very interested in their use. All requests to study both anomalies are to be denied until further notice. Incidents A6. Agent Blank, while staying at the Blank Hotel in Blank, Germany, heard the sounds of a scuffle and screaming from across the hall at approximately 3 AM local time, at which point he felt that he had to intervene, unknown that he would come face to face with a possible SCP. After forcing the door to Blank Blank's room, he observed 542 removing the muscles and bone of Mrs. Blank's right leg, or Miss Blank's right leg. After the agent fired several shots, 542 fled through the window and Agent Blank contacted the local authorities and an ambulance. Blank, an American tourist who had only been in town for a few days, described what had happened to her while recovering in the hospital. Afterwards, she willingly took the amnestic issued to her, preferring to believe that she had instead been in an unfortunate traffic accident and her right leg had been amputated. Her report is as follows. I had been to Germany before, so I knew my way around, and I was used to taking the bus, but I guess I first saw him there, I think. Just this guy all hidden under heavy jackets and his hat and glasses. And of course I was suspicious because it was summer, you know, sweltering hot. And I realized he was looking at me, but I ignored it. He didn't get off the bus at my stop anyways, and there were always others on the bus, even late at night. I guess I saw him for 3 days and I stopped thinking about it. He must have followed me off the bus that night. I went up to my hotel room and I don't remember the window was open and it was all dark. The light wouldn't turn on. I figured somebody had decided to steal my stuff, so I went to see if anything was missing and she shows signs of intense discomfort and asks for a minute to compose herself. This was allowed, and she resumes after several minutes. He was hiding under the bed, and he had these freakishly long arms and the fingers. Too many joints, and he took my ankles right out from under me. He was just too fast, and he tied my arms and legs to the bed, and at first I thought, that he was going to he kept saying things like, "Don't worry, and you're going to help me, and I need your help," and things like that. It was scary as shit, and he said that so long as I kept quiet, he might call an ambulance afterward, and that was a little scary. I guess it really was worse than that. He picked up his jacket, and it had been on the coat hanger by the door, and I hadn't even noticed it, and started pulling out all these knives and all these tools. I just didn't know what to do, so I decided to take my chance and started screaming as loud as I could. Then they were allowed to stop there and were delivered the amnestic and alibi that night. Incident A15. For details on the event tracking and capture 542, please refer to the data expunged. A request for declassification is under review blank blank 2000 something. As of blank blank blank, 542 has been moved to Bio Research Area 12 in order to assist in the Olympia project. And I want him back intact, said Dr. Wrights, because of course it's fucking Dr. Wrights. Why wouldn't it be Dr. Wrights? Note, 542 has somehow acquired information of SCP-291, 827, and 545, which we're going to be getting to in this episode. An investigation into the extent of 542's knowledge of these SCPs and how he has acquired this knowledge is currently under investigation. Offending personnel will be disciplined appropriately with following a board review, 05 something. The Olympia project is actually one of the things I have set aside to cover on one of the SCP Saturdays. I don't know when I'm going to get to it because it sounds like it deals with a lot of SCPs I've not seen yet. But in any case, that brings us to noise. Okay, liquid life is the one that he knows about. Mouse. Mouse, wake up. Okay. Access to SCP-543 is restricted to staff with Level 2 clearance. Detailed observation of 543 has thus far been restricted to disposable dudes. Looks like a television. SCP-543 is a collection of blank 4-hour VHS videotapes from various manufacturers. Total length of tape is blank hours. That doesn't seem like the right number for 4 videotapes, but tapes are labeled with date and times from blankety blank blank to blankety blank blank. All tapes viewed so far appear to be noise, or snow, recorded from an empty analog television channel. However, those who watch the tapes for long enough are able to discern an image, see Addenda 1 and 2. Discovery. 543 was found in a single-room apartment in blank building blank blank on blank blank blank. The room contained a blank brand 38.1 centimeter analog television set with rabbit ears set top antenna. They're not there now, though. The television was tuned to the gap between local stations blank and blank. Antenna was attached to a tangle of wires that filled the entire room from floor to ceiling except for a small area in front of the television. 543 was stacked along the walls and strewn on the floor. In front of the television was the apartment's tenant, blank, adult male deceased. Head was buried in the television. He had rammed it through the glass screen himself and died of electrocution. Signs of extreme malnutrition. Evidently, after filling the room with wires, he was unable or unwilling to remove any, confining himself to a smaller and smaller space. Body surrounded by food wrappers and excrement. Ew. The body was discovered by the building's landlord after continued non-payment of rent. Police dismantled the antenna structure to retrieve the body. Examination of crime scene photos and investigation of Blank's behavior show the wires were placed in 4 stages over the blank days of it before his death. Stage 1. Coat hangers attached to the antenna with scotch tape. Blank hours of VHS tape. Stage 2. Reel of 6-gauge wire and duct tape purchased from local hardware store. Blank hours of tape. Stage 3. Waste wire scavenged from construction sites. Blank had lost his job at blank due to persistent absenteeism. Blank hours of tape. Stage 4. Apartment ransacked. Springs removed from mattress. Appliances dismantled for wiring. Exits blocked. 1 tape unlabeled found in the VCR by police. Addendum 1. Summary of the observation logs. Disposable person 671 was given a random selection of tapes, blank hours in total, viewed in chronological order with a VCR and television of the same model as blanks. Steel mesh fitted over screen as a precaution. In tapes made during Stage 1, they identified the images as unremarkable TV noise. Later, she claimed to discern an image and requested that it be tuned in. In Stage 2 tapes, instead of a 2-dimensional wall of snow, Disposable Dudette claimed to see a vast three-dimensional space. She stressed the size of the space bigger than anything you've seen. Bigger than anything ever. Beginning of claustrophobic tendencies. Disposable 671 reported stage 3 tapes as clearer and sharper. She now claimed to see things occupying the immense space. Whether they were animate or indeed whether they were entities or events is unclear. Once again, she emphasized their size, becoming agitated when the interviewers did not get it. Severe claustrophobia, anxiety, night terrors. After viewing blank minutes of the final unlabeled tape, she attempted to remove the mesh over the screen, stripping 3 fingernails and breaking her nose before being restrained. Currently isolated in 4-point restraints, cooperates with interviewers but answers are repetitive. See Addendum 2. Addendum 2, partial transcript of the interview with them on 10:15 in the morning. Why did you do it? Because here isn't big enough. Not when you've seen there. Big enough for what? Why do you think the TV can see them? Because they're everywhere. They're all through us, and we're not big enough. And it hurts. Well, that's weird. Now it's time for the new voice. Which was safe, but is now Euclid. Class updated after event 544-423245 by order of 05 somebody. And it's a microphone, so I guess I'll read it bombastically. When not in use, 544 is to be kept in a standard 1x1x1 meter locked storage container. When in use, the bearer of 544 is to be under visual and auditory surveillance at all times. In the event that 544 is to be removed from a bearer, it is only to be done by legally deaf staff in auditory safe room 524264. SCP-544 is a 30cm tall handheld radio microphone, made of polished metal and black plastic. There's no evidence of wires or electrical plugs of any kind on this object. The object's surface reveals significant, but superficial damage, presumably from everyday use. When jostled, the sound of a non-metallic object can be heard inside the device. Request to disassemble it to identify this object has been denied. When grasped by the neck of the microphone, the bearer will gain a subtle but significant compulsion to keep 544 in his or her possession at all times. This compulsion begins as a simple dislike for the idea of letting go of it, but inevitably culminates in a desire to keep it in a pocket or other carrying method at all times. Attempts to retrieve it when the bearer is asleep have generally resulted in separation events. See below. After 2 days of bearing 544, it will begin to speak for its bearer through methods unknown. The sound SCP-544 makes is identical to the bearer's original voice, and the bearer does not seem to notice that this voice replacement is occurring until explained. As time passes, more and more of the subject's speech is replaced by 544, and the vocal tone becomes much more electronic, with a comical and jovial tone. Within 2 weeks, the bearer is completely voiced by 544. In blank separate tests, cases, subjects bearing it were noted as rarely saying the following words normally if weakly: why, speaker, shroud, and expunged. The latter, believed to be of Mesoamerican origin, has been uttered the most. Attempts to remove 544 from the bearer's possession result in what has been dubbed as a separation event. 544 will produce a screeching tone in order to incapacitate those that wish to gain 544. The decibel levels of separation events have ranged from 140 to 150 decibels, causing significant discomfort and pain. The original bearer of 544 is somewhat affected, but to a severely lesser degree. Incapacitating the bearer before attempting to acquire 544 causes the same separation event. After the event, its original bearer recovers normally, with the exception of being unable to speak at all. Autopsy of the bearer's brains revealed near complete atrophy of posterior inferior frontal gyrus section, commonly known as Broca's area. Because of the risk to personnel nearby when separation events occur, 05 Blank has ordered that all operations done to retrieve 544 to be done in auditory safe rooms, ASRs, rooms specifically designed to mitigate and reduce sound-related issues. And then 1. Interview with a 544 bearing subject. Date, April 12, 2000-something, researcher blank. Disposable dude 78909. Might be a dudette, we don't know yet. Current amount of time the subject has borne 544, 1 week, 2 days. Please note, by this time, a significant percent of their vocalizations come from 544. In the interest of clarity, sections in which 544 is speaking will be written like this, in keeping with its higher electronic voice. As is standard, with this effect upon its bearers, they do not notice or do not seem to care when he stops using his mouth in the middle of a sentence. And how are we today, 78909? I see you've taken the stuffing 544 into your pocket. Yes, it was getting a bit annoying having to hold this thing in my hands. Plus, it fits pretty well, don't you think? True, but have you considered returning it to us? What are you using it for? Nah, why would I want to give this up? I like it, Believe it or not, most of the other D-class folks think I'm higher up on the food chain because I've got this thing. Stupid gang-banging racial insults. They think owning an old-time radio microphone is some version of a gang sign. Why would you believe that they occasionally try to take the expletive thing when I'm sleeping? Expletiving racial insults? Have they forgotten they're in friggin' jail? This isn't Detroit, for God's sake! Let's refrain from racial insults 78909 and mind your tone. You're in jail with them too. Tell me more about what happens when they try to take it from you. Fine, sorry about the cursing. Anyways, I'm a light sleeper, so the minute I feel their dirty little mitts unzipping my pocket, I'm awake. Then the metal noise starts up and they start clutching their heads like it's a bullhorn. They back off and I go back to sleep. Metal noise? You know, the noise it makes when someone tries to take it. You guys installed it, right? So that nobody steals it from me? What was that stupid horn that those Africans played at soccer games so that everyone hated? Like that, but more synthetic. A lot quieter, too. Have to give you boys credit. It's a perfect stop touching my expletive alarm sound. Winces. Sorry, I know. Don't swear. Force of habit. I think he's talking about vuvuzelas, but ah yes, that metal noise. We made that noise for military discouragement operations. What would you say if I told you that that you keep alternating between speaking with your voice and the microphone speaking for you? I'd laugh at you because you guys tried that trick a few days after you gave me this thing. You guys told me to randomly talk while looking into what you guys said. You said it was a mirror. Of course it wasn't a mirror since I stopped talking a few times in the, does air quotes, reflection while I kept talking. Freaked me out a bit, but then I realized you guys just recorded me standing somewhere doing nothing and used that fancy CGI expletive to make it look like I wasn't talking. A few nice words. Nice try, Doc. Addendum 2, Event 544 Alpha, on May 24th. Oh man, this totally would have been perfect for yesterday's episode because the event happened on May 24th and yesterday was May 24th. Damn. At 3:42 a.m., the current bearer of 544, D423254 or 245, was asleep in his bunk. While undisturbed and remaining asleep, 544 began to speak seemingly random phrases. It was initially assumed that they were simply talking in his sleep until 544 began speaking of things which could not possibly have been dream-based. Later, bearers of 544 repeated many of the following lines in their sleep. For full listing, see file 544 full log 353. I was slumbering. I was waking. Flames, fire, burning. I slumbered again. There is no blank. There is no blank. There is no barrier. The slab groans. I groan to match. We rise together. When? I dreamed until the dawn, but it was not dawn. It was false. Dawn that was not a dawn. Dreams turned to dust. The number was expunged. The number is expunged. No, not time. Not yet. No, wait and dream. Wait and dream. Event 544 Alpha, alright, I was supposed to be reading it bombastically. Event 544 Alpha in later similar situations has caused the Foundation to reevaluate 544's nature. It is currently not understood how 544 or its multiple bearers have a knowledge of SCP blank, much less how SCP blank has anything in common with 544. More startling is 544's mentioning of the specific latitude-longitude of Foundation Overwatch. In response to Event 544-423-245, SCP-544 has been upgraded to Euclid status. Addendum 2, Event 544 Beta. On September the 15th, 2000-something at 4:01 a.m., the current bearer, D64-349, was seen walking around the medical cell he had been contained in due to the common illness. Conversation with 64-349 speaking through 544 began shortly thereafter. To date, there have been blank attempts to forcibly recreate the events of 544 Beta with no success. Up and about, 64-349, feeling better. Buried. Excuse me? Unintelligible. Please repeat yourself. Long pauses between words begin here and continue throughout the conversation. Perversion. Corruption of the method. I'm shrouded under those who exist to serve me. Realizes he is not talking with 64-349. What method are you speaking of? Does the person I'm talking to exist to serve you? Touch the stone. Become my voice. Speak my truths and my rules to the people. I warned them. Popocatépetl, a volcano located in Mexico, was the warning. Warning of corruption, arrival, destruction. What happened? My voice was not protected. Pretenders to my glory usurped me, shattered, disregarded. I slept. And what caused you to wake up? Do you remember when? Shard of me, not enough. The cerdos, Spanish for pig, treated like unknown translation suggests bearer of wooden collar. Blasphemy! Touch the stone, become my voice. Touch the stone, smoke for them. Rapidly alternating between Mexican, Spanish, and English. Arrogance! 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 At this point, D64349 awoke, presumably by the sound of 544. He turns to face the doctor, who startles him. Jesus whipped, doctor! Do you get your giant off of watching patients get up to take a piss? None of your business, D. Good night. He could have said no. He didn't say none of your business. And that brings us to Liquid Life Totenkinder. It looks like a bunch of liquor. The shelf of bottles found in 545's A house containing 545B. It's Euclid. SCP-545 is considered to be 3 individual parts, and thus each part may be stored differently. A is to be kept in 2 rooms, residential containment units at Site 17, furnished to her liking. In a 2-room. Okay. To date, she has not requested a TV, radio, nor any contact with the outside world beyond a walk through a park or woods at least once a week. Available to her upon request. During said excursion, she is to be accompanied by a team of 4 armed security personnel and at least 1 researcher familiar to her. A is allowed to leave her containment and spend time in level 0 and common areas, provided that she notify 2 level 2 security personnel ahead of time and is supervised during the duration of her leaving her room. A poses no immediate threat to any personnel, provided that they are reminded not to make assumptions about her strength, speed, or intelligence based upon her appearance. All samples and bottles of B are to be packaged and placed in the appropriate storage unit under lock. Only authorized level 4 security personnel or higher may be allowed to handle, transport, or study B. Drinking B is strictly forbidden and punishable by immediate termination, unless under a testing protocol. All requests to study and test B must be submitted at least a week in advance, and approved by a head of site research, if not an O5 level operative. A's unit is also to contain a small garden under sun lamps available for her to work in. No poisonous plants are allowed after Incident 6B. C is to be locked in a quad-locked storage vault in Site 17's Precious Items wing. Description: 545 may be determined as 3 separate parts. A appears to be an elderly woman, presumably of Eastern European descent, 5 feet in height, 163 pounds in weight, giving her a short, plump build. Her skin, although deeply tanned and heavily lined, is devoid of blemishes or liver spots otherwise common with age. Her hair is thick, completely white, and past her waist when let down. Although A prefers to keep it in a tight bun. Her eyes, despite her age, are a bright, clear blue and devoid of cataracts or fogginess. As a reward for good behavior and cooperation, she has been allowed to choose a wardrobe of simple and traditional dresses and eyeglasses. Despite appearing to be 80 plus years old, A is in exceptional health with no weakening of the heart, bones, or respiratory system. And although of average human strength, her senses are to be noted above average, and she scores a general 115 on a standard IQ test. A claims to be over 800 years old. This claim has yet to be disproved. A prefers to be called a number of names and dislikes the SCP designation number. She'll respond to Granny, Beatrice, Ms. Widow, and has taken a liking to Dr. Blank's nickname for her, Totenkinder. She displays a generally pleasant personality and enjoys activities such as sewing, cooking, and gardening. A often requests conversations and walks outside as well. Despite A's penchant for acting like a kindly older woman, she displays no remorse for her use of B or C. A also displays a pathological fear of death and an addiction to B, and she complies with Foundation personnel under threat of being deprived of her supply of B. As the only known long-term user of B, A's information is considered invaluable. B is a colorless, odorless liquid extracted from the body via C and bottled. It is often dubbed liquid life due to its properties. Under examination, B appears to be slightly more viscous than water, but varies in direct texture and taste. B has no unique properties until ingested. Drinking B extends the life of the user, slowing the process of aging, and often either slowing or completely ridding the body of disease. It may even be used to heal major wounds if drunk quickly enough. Repeated use of B may prolong life indefinitely, but result in a strong dependency upon its properties, and many frequent users show borderline sociopathic tendencies in regards to the creation of B. To date, the SCP Foundation keeps a limited supply of B and allows for production only for study of C. C is a thin weathered sheet of yellow parchment in surprisingly good condition. Carbon dating places it to be at least 600 years old. A claims to have copied C from the original document containing C's instructions. For lack of a better term, C contains a recipe in Middle English for extracting and distilling B from the human body. Full contents of C are undisclosed in order to prevent unauthorized personnel from creating B. Key portions include ingredients list, including such materials as live leeches, skullcap seeds, chicken fetuses, snake skin, ginger root, mandrake root, lily of the valley water, spider eggs, and nearly 24 more items in varying amounts. The most prominent ingredient appears to be a living human being, preferably a child. Multiple ingredients on this list have been noted to match the ingredients used in instances of SCP-2077. Supplies list, including a boiling pot large enough for a child or other human being along with water and many ingredients, and a strainer made from fresh spiderwebs among other things. Instructions list detailing rather elaborately the exact amounts of materials and time we needed to successfully create, distill, and bottle B. A is able to recite and act upon C by heart. The exact mechanism of the process that creates B are still unidentified. Magic is not an acceptable answer. There has to be some sort of process here that allows for this to happen. It can't just happen because it works. Dr. Blank. Addendum. 545 was located in a small midwestern town under the guise of an elderly woman with mild dementia. The woods her residential neighborhood were located in led to an area near a river that was prone to sinkholes and had a small history of children becoming lost or dying in the woods before. Her neighbors described her as kind and caring and had no suspicion that she may be anything more than a lonely elderly widow with a penchant for giving neighborhood kids small treats in return for collecting their used glass bottles. She was located and captured by data expunged. From A's own memory, she has been repeating the same process for quite a while. She buys a small house in a relatively dangerous area and keeps the supplies for C with her, or manages to find and produce them. She collects glass bottles via the neighborhood over time and gains their trust. She describes the process of capturing children for C as being relatively easy. She simply goes for a walk and pretends to be lost, or talks kids into accompanying her home under the promise of food and candy. She admits to doing this at least once every 5 years or more. She claims to have been using this process for at least 800 years, but has admitted that even though her aging is slowed to a crawl, it hasn't stopped completely, no matter how much B she produces and ingests. SCP-545-B is not to be used or distributed even in cases of emergency. Failure to comply will result in termination. 05 blank. Okay, so I imagine that the reason it's bad that the creepy Frankenstein monster doctor dude from SCP-542 knows about 545 is because it means he would probably be willing to make and use it to presumably heal himself to the point of not needing to harvest humans anymore. So he would probably only need to harvest a child or 1 or 2 children every few years, and then not have to harvest multiple people every time he needs one. Not saying it's a good thing, I'm just saying that's my theory probably for why he knows about it and why he cares. In any case, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This is episode 119 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. I think it was 119. Should be. If you liked it, like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.